Climate has always changed throughout the history of the planet, but in recent decades has changed very quickly. In so short a time, we can definitely consider natural causes, such as the activity of the sun and the eruption of volcanoes, and causes due to human activities. And we cannot explain this global warming over the past 50 years without considering human causes, then the emission of greenhouse gases. What worries us is not the climate change in itself, but its cause and speed. The speed that raises urgency in trying to mitigate the impacts and to adapt to climate change already in place. Think of heat waves, impacts on water resources, impacts on agriculture, on ecosystems, both in the mountains and in the plains, impacts on coastal areas, the increase in erosion, all that reasoning about our area, not considering the most extreme impacts in Arctic sea ice in the North Pole. Let's keep to our region, Emilia-Romagna, Italy, in the Mediterranean basin. The Mediterranean is now scientifically considered a hot spot, an area very sensitive to climate change, both present and future. We experience already the impacts on water resources, especially in certain areas of our country during the summer, and problems like heat waves, temperatures in given areas much higher than the average of the period as we observed it in the last 30-40 years. Heat waves are clearly a big problem not only for human health, but also for agriculture and for the management of water resources. The IdroMeteoClima service of Arpa manages a network of hydrometeorological stations and radars owned by Emilia-Romagna region. This network includes more than 900 sensors for measuring variables at ground level such as temperature, precipitation, water level of river basins and pressure. All these measurements are then stored in our database, which in many years has collected long time series, very important for hydrometeorological and climatological studies. By analyzing these historical time series, we have seen that climate change is not only a global problem, but it appears really substantial also at the local scale. And we can definitely state, for example, that here in Emilia-Romagna during the last 20 years, local warming has been even higher than the global one. Other variables, such as precipitation, don't show changes as large as temperature, but relevant differences have been found in rainfall patterns, namely the way in which precipitations occur in our region. We found a higher frequency of intense events with short duration, which lead us to think about a sort of tropicalization of the regional climate.
The use of statistical downscaling techniques developed by IdroMeteoClima service of Emilia-Romagna allowed us to create scenarios of climate change on local scale. This has been done within the Ensembles project that was funded by the European Commission under the 6th Framework Programme for Research and Development. The results of the project highlight significant changes in the main climatological fields, temperature and precipitation, over the European continent from now up to the end of the century. Thus, the climate scenarios show for the period 2021 to 2050 an increase in the annual average temperature between 0.5 and 2 degrees Celsius over Europe, a little bit more intense for the Italian peninsula, namely between 1.5 and 2 degrees Celsius. As concerns Emilia-Romagna region for the same period, the results reveal an increase in the average of about 2 degrees Celsius, both for maximum and minimum temperature. Much more relevant changes are expected in mean and extreme temperature and precipitation at the end of the century, the period 2071-2100, with peak changes during summer season. The climate projections of the Emilia-Romagna region show an increase in minimum and maximum temperature between 3.5 and 4 degrees Celsius. Also, during summer season, it is expected an increase of consecutive days without precipitation. This means that very hot periods, characterized by positive anomalies of 3-4 degrees, that today are extreme events, in the next 30 years will tend to occur more frequently, but at the end of the century will be the mean for the period.
Agriculture is a human activity that has always been particularly sensitive to climate issues. We have highlighted in a number of studies that the climate of Emilia-Romagna, as well as that of Italy and the rest of the world, is changing rather fast, with a specific study of an important sector of agriculture in our region, that is, irrigated agriculture. To study the irrigation issue, normally we use so-called water balance models that summarize how the soil works, compute transpiration, and the effects of rainfall on soil water content, all with a system that we have developed in recent years, named criteria. We applied this model to a certain number of crops with downscale climate projections up to 2050, and we got a series of quite interesting information. Since we are in the Po Valley, in a particular geographical condition of northern Italy, not only we have found as expected a likely increase in summer temperature, but we also noticed an increase in rainfall, especially in spring, and therefore only a slight expected increase in irrigation demand. On the other hand, some colleagues participating in this effort of scientific analysis about climate change in agriculture in a national project called AgroScenari have applied the same climate projections downscaled on southern Italy and have instead found significant increases of irrigation demand in environments more Mediterranean than ours. The water sector, the sustainable management of water resources, is one of the sectors most affected by climate change. So, the task of planners, those who have to regulate and manage the resources at river basin level, is to deal with the magnitude of the effects on the availability of water. The water strategy of Emilia-Romagna is based on the Water Protection Plan, approved in 2005, and which defines the management priorities. The first priority is the efficiency of resource use, so the saving and preservation are top priorities referring to climate change. As told before, what mostly concerns about water resources is not only the amount of water itself, but the variability of phenomena. Alternating periods of drought with periods of abundance of rain will be one of the major issues on planning resources in the near future. And that's why the region proposed the CoRe project, which aims to share these experiences and strategies between the regions of Europe. I would emphasize the particular importance of the project because it is one of the few, if not the only one, who has a strong involvement of the political level to the issue of water resources management. They say we need to put water on the political agenda, and CoRe is meant to achieve exactly this objective.